Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BoreDraw Podcast, episode number
62.
We are racking up the podcast. Today we are back to talk about the Premier League, a weekend of late winners, big turnarounds. It was a good weekend of football.
Yeah, it was. There was,
Sunday
like you
was
said,
dry.
yeah, Sunday was so dry, and we got a big game on tonight, Nottingham Forest and Burnley. A big game, I mean, like.
Counting on Matt Turner to get me some FBL points.
Yeah, my FBL has
shocking.
been so bad. I've kind of given up already. But yeah, Saturday was exciting. There was a lot of goals, a lot of last-minute goals, which is always exciting. Not if you're on the receiving end of it, though.
You got a feel for Sheffield United, who we'll talk about later in the podcast. But before we get into the actual games themselves, the new extra time rules where sort of like any time the ball is out of play or not in play, the time has stopped and we're getting 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes added on.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is a massive reason we're seeing so many late goals. We're seeing so many late turnarounds. Is it healthy, though? Like, as a fan, as a neutral viewer, you love it.
Heart rate.
You love it because it is what it is. Like, you're seeing fantastic teams playing an extra 10 minutes of football every game. Yeah. You're getting more football for you more bang for your buck. But for the players, if you're playing an extra 8 minutes over the course of 10 games, you're basically playing another game. You're playing another 80 minutes.
Teams like Chelsea and Man United, I think they've got like 10 or 11 players out each, which is crazy.
But
and that's not totally down to the added time. But like Wan-Bissaka didn't start the game against Brighton, came on for like the last quarter of an hour and got injured. And so I don't know. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's a lot of football going on.
And then you've got teams like Man United and Chelsea having so many injuries, having spent however many hundreds of million. How is a team like Sheffield United meant to compete with that when their bench is going to be so much weaker? Then they can't afford to bring on a £40 million signing for the last 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Yeah. It doesn't work like that. But let's talk about Man United and the ever-continuing saga of troubles that seem to be plaguing their club. Obviously, they've had massive issues off the pitch with Mason Greenwood, Jadon Sancho, Anthony now. Their wingers just are not doing it, or doing it for all the wrong reasons. But we're going to talk a little bit about a problem in the middle of the pitch, because Casemiro, someone you've highlighted, is he a problem?
I think he's leggy, mate. I think what Man United have done for so many years now, and it's kind of, it's caught up with them years ago, hence why they haven't won anything important in however long. They've signed these big names, Ronaldo, Ibra, Casemiro, Varane to an extent. They signed these big names at the start of their decline. They're not signing players in their prime. I think the last player that, you could argue Mason Mount, but Bruno Fernandes maybe they signed in his prime. But apart from that, you're just signing old dons. And Casemiro is one of those. Yes, last season he was excellent, but he's still 32.
Yep. He's got 4 years left in his contract or something.
And when you play a team like Brighton that are not only technically excellent, but they got legs, they got energy, you're going to get found out. And him playing this kind of deep-lying 6 by himself with, bless him, Eriksen, who is also on his deathbed. You can't have those two playing a kind of centre midfield role against the legs of, like, I was going to say Pascal Gross, but he's quite old. But the way Brighton build up, you don't even need legs in the middle. You just pass around you.
Brighton make teams that they play against cover so much ground because they play into space so well. They create space better than probably any team in the Premier League. They're so comfortable playing out from the back that teams have no choice but to be drawn forward by them. And they don't. And like, even if a team decides mentally and tactically, we're going to sit back and let them come at us, they'll pick you apart still. They're just so good at that. Their passing is so pinpoint, it's so quick. And the players, that like every single player in that Brighton team, their IQ's just skyrocketed since De Zerbi's come in, because they know exactly how, right, this is how they're setting up against us. This is what we need to do. And they do it every game. Casemiro, Eriksen is nowhere near the legs of a top Premier League midfield duo. Nowhere near. And I know they brought in Amrabat, but until
he needs to get in the side
ASAP, because he will give them the legs that they're missing. And maybe him alongside Casemiro isn't too bad.
Yeah, and then Mount as well, decent legs. I'd get Eriksen out of that team ASAP.
But for me, there's just so much wrong with Man United at the minute, and it just seems to be like a downward negative spiral that I don't see the end of. But we've said before, you win 2 on the bounce or 3 on the bounce, or they pick up a good win, then suddenly it's a whole different dynamic.
It is. The vibe is just very stinky at the moment around Man United. There's a lot of heat underneath Ten Hag's chair. His chair is very hot at the moment. And fuck Nigel Farage, but I'm going to do Nigel Farage real quick and be like, you all laughed at me. Who's laughing now? When I said Ten Hag might not make it to October. Is the seat too hot for Erik Ten Hag?
I think we need to give him time. And I say that, but from the beginning of the season, I don't think he's had a full strength 11 to put out. Yeah. I mean, their left back issue, they had to sign Reguilon, who's just like we've seen didn't work before Spurs. That's a throwback.
That is a throwback.
Onana doesn't fill me with confidence. I feel like he's still struggling to find out where his role is in that team. I know he's a goalkeeper.
Yeah, you're a goal, mate.
But like they're asking him to build up from the back, but then they haven't got their centre-back pairing of Varane and Lisandro Martinez playing together at the minute. So whoever's partnering Martinez is just going to be like a complete negative in terms of trying to build out from the back. Right backs, I knew they were going to try. They were going to try to sign Benjamin Pavard, which is a deal that fell through right at the last minute. And he went over to Serie A, didn't he? He would have been a brilliant asset for them. Then you just go into the midfield. Eriksen and Casemiro. It's not good enough. It really isn't. The only 2 players in their team that are actually any threat are Bruno and Rashford. Rasmus Højlund, who we're going to get onto now, we were quite impressed by his little cameo against Arsenal. Thought he looked very dynamic. He looked dangerous. He was getting into the right positions.
I like him.
And he was good against Brighton in short spins.
Scored a goal, got disallowed.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate. It was only by that much over the line, but that is how the game works.
And that's how football's are spherical. So it might look like it's on the line, but it's a sphere. So...
No, but if the ball's overhanging the line, it's in. But this clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
And anyway,
angles, mate.
But yeah, at least he could put it away. We've seen that. He gets into the positions to put these chances away, which is something they've not had for a very long time. And it's a very different mode of striker to what they've had.
Yeah,
they've gone young, they've gone unproven, as opposed to before where they had like, I don't know, Cavani and Ibrahimovic.
Past their prime players.
Like,
on the decline.
So, and
he's hungry, and I like him.
He brings more to the team in terms of a build-up aspect and in terms of his interplay with the wide players and Bruno than every other striker they've done. Like maybe Wout Weghorst was meant to do that, but it just didn't. He's just not a top quality striker. So for me, I'm interested to see how he will pick up and kick on throughout the season.
So why is Ten Hag subbing him off and bringing on Martial, who I think everyone is just fed up with Martial. He was brought in as this next big thing, Ballon d'Or clause in his contract. And he stinks, mate. I don't know. He's just not that guy. He hasn't got the hunger for football anymore, I don't think.
Do you think it's a problem just around Man United though? Like, who was the last player that Man United bought in, and their career was better for it?
Yeah, it sounded like Tim Sherwood.
I mean, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like Tim Sherwood.
No, he's a wanker.
But maybe I was thinking like maybe David De Gea.
Yeah.
David De Gea had like a really good time at Man United. Towards the end, it trailed off. But I'm struggling to think of a player who came to Man United and then left and was better for it.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen people saying that Paul Pogba is like the best French midfielder ever. And he's literally like, what has he done?
Yeah, his career has spiraled.
He won the Euros and a World Cup, but with his national team, a stacked national team. So for me, there is a deep-rooted problem at Man United, and I'm seeing a lot of fans, and it's not been uncommon things here over the last 5-6 years or even further, that it's all the Glazers' fault. But from an outside perspective, I'm seeing a club where they are spending money. They're spending money. They're giving the manager the player he wants. And you don't tell me that Lisandro Martinez isn't the player that Ten Hag wanted. Anthony wasn't the player that he wanted. Malacia. All these players that he are bringing in, there's something else wrong there. There's something else wrong, whether it's to do with just the whole nature of the club, the vibe around it, something very negative. I think there's a lot of unknowns about who's going to be in charge of Man United in terms of ownership. You've got to get this stuff sorted out. At the end of the day, the only people now that are suffering are the fans. But I don't want to hear it where Man United fans are on Twitter saying, no team in England has to deal with what we deal with. We're the hardest done by Mate, there are hundreds of clubs who have been through far worse than you. Far worse.
Perspective, mate.
Are you joking me? Are you actually like it actually infuriates me. You've got teams that have literally liquidated. Look at Bury, man. I'll find you a list of teams who are worse off, because it's ridiculous that you'd ever have the gall to say anything like that.
The gumption, it's
disgusting. Look at where you are. Look at what you've seen. You won a cup last season.
Yeah, you've had so much success.
You're in the Champions League this season.
Grow up.
And you're sitting there crying. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. And I know that's not indicative of the whole fan base, but get a grip.
Grow up.
If you're in that minority, get a grip.
Come on.
Don't deserve the beautiful game.
We'll get back onto the team and the football. Rashford up top. So Ten Hag tried this kind of like little diamond situation this game. Casemiro as the deepest, and then it was Eriksen and Scott McTominay, and then it was Bruno Fernandes. And then it was a top two of Rasmus Hojlund and Marcus Rashford. Seen a lot of people get on Marcus Rashford, and I think they have a good reason to do so. They're saying he's a bit selfish. He attacks the goal with his head down, always just looking to get a shot off. And I back it. So he's got a good shot on him. And last season, he scored, 25 goals or whatever. And that just came from him being the sole man. Head down, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to be the guy to win this for us. Is that going to work if he's playing a top two with a striker like Hojlund?
No. I think we've seen throughout the seasons that Marcus Rashford's best position is clearly out on that left wing, when he can cut inside or he can go to the byline and he can take people on. He likes to hit him, and he likes to hit him hard. He's not a creative winger in that asset.
No,
in that sense, he's not a Jack Grealish who's gonna be looking when he gets to the byline for who's in the box. He's gonna think, right, I'm at the byline, I'm going to try and come inside.
Yeah, come inside.
Like that, and that's what he does. And that's sort of a byproduct of him having to be the main man, the main source of goals for the last however many seasons.
I don't know if this new formation is as a result of the lack of right wingers Man United currently have, and that they're having to make do. Ten Hag doing a bit of square pegs and round holes right now. But I like the idea. It gives some legs in the midfield, and Marcus Rashford is a super direct player, very good finisher. So him up top isn't a terrible idea. Linking up with Hojlund, that is almost like a makeshift Alvarez and Haaland. But to make that work, what Alvarez has got is insane kind of team play. You see him now playing that kind of deeper De Bruyne role for Man City. If Rashford wants to kind of make it work as a top two, you need to learn how to play off your striking partner. You see all the best ones from back in the day. You're talking Michael Owen, Emil Heskey. You're talking Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp. All these players.
Charlie Austin, Bobby Zamora.
There you go. You need a good link-up. And at the moment, obviously, this is the first game that I've seen these two play together. But Rashford needs to get in his head that he doesn't have to be the only source of goals. He can square it to Hojlund. He can go line and ping it back to the edge of the box.
Do you think this two up top has come as a result of them not having any right wingers at the minute?
Exactly.
But for me, over the last 2 seasons, they've transfer windowed themselves into a problem. They've gone so that ideally their starting front three. I think if everyone was fit and available, they're going to go with Rashford out wide on the left. They're going to go Rasmus Hojlund in the middle and Anthony out wide on the right.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got 2 players out wide there who aren't really there for their striker. Neither of them are players who will drift out or come inside to create space for the striker. They're doing that because they want to come inside and shoot. They want to get themselves into goal scoring positions. But if you want Rasmus Hojlund to be your out-and-out goal scorer, you want to make him the main man up top, you've got the wrong wingers for it.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're going to have Hodgson playing some sort of like facilitator role where he can come deep and get the ball and then create and draw centre backs in to create space for Anthony and Rashford to get inside, it won't work. But and I don't see Hodgson doing that. I don't see him coming deep to build up play. He's not a Harry Kane striker. He's not a false nine.
He's not.
And so it doesn't work. And I think this is reminiscent of Ten Hag's team back in Ajax, where you had Tadic playing that false nine role, and it worked so well because you created so much space in behind for your wingers to go left and right. That's why Tadic ended up with a crazy amount of assists, because he was doing that. But you're not going to get Højlund doing that.
No.
I can't speak 100% because I'm not seeing him play enough. But he doesn't strike me as that type of player, unless it's something that Ten Hag's going to try and train him to do. But for me, like, would you not be better off having Bruno Fernandes up there?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like you said, I think their recruitment is just a bit of a mishmash. They needed a striker, so they got Højlund. But for me, like, they should have splashed the cash on Harry Kane. Harry Kane will drop deep. He'd pretty much be what like England do. He drops deep, plays kind of longer balls over to Rashford, who can go in and score. But now, yeah, like you said, you need wingers that are going to feed Højlund. And from what we saw this game, Rashford isn't going to be that guy. Maybe Anthony's probably a bit more likely to feed him. And maybe Jadon Sancho if he can get back in the team. But that seems like a ship that has sailed. So yeah, I don't know. I think Man United could be in for a bit of trouble for the next few months if they don't figure out how to feed Højlund.
It's a lack of creative wingers is just one of many problems in that United team. It's probably at the bottom of their list.
Indeed.
But
let's talk about Brighton.
Let's talk about, yeah.
Because I fucking love what they're doing. I'm going to be scared when we come up and
here,
play them.
even with rotation, no March or Stupinan.
March and a Stupinan. March, shout out, what a guy. And a Stupinan who is one of the best fullbacks in the league at the moment.
Brighton is still great.
Not in the team. Lamptey came in for a Stupinan and
man of the match performance.
Yeah, and some young winger guy, I can't remember his name, who was quality for Brighton.
James Milner? He's quite young, no?
No, I fucking don't really care. But
Brighton, it just seems to be levels with them. Like every time they play, they look better and better than the week before. You do have the odd result where it doesn't go their way, the West Ham game.
The Everton game the season before, yeah.
But they're outrageous, and every single player in that team, and the brilliance is that they're bringing in these names that no one's heard of, and they're looking like £100 million players, and they might be sat on the bench for the last 5 game weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
and you're thinking, right, where's he come from? Oh, he's another star. It's fantastic to watch, and
I think he's such a good coach, and you can tell he's a good coach because they'll rotate, and the players that come in maintain the level perfectly. There's no like drop off. Whereas like, I think that's why I'm seeing an issue with Man United, because yes, they've got injuries, but a good coach can manage that. The players that come in will be coached to an adequate level where the levels won't drop off that much. Whereas which is why Man United, I think Ten Hag is a little bit iffy coach wise. Whereas like Brighton, you can rotate. Players come in. Tariq Lamptey, we haven't seen him in a bloody age. He comes in, plays at left back, I think he played. And he was quality. And I don't know, it's just one of those things like Danny Welbeck rotating him for Evan Ferguson, quality. Pascal Gross, quality. Dahoud, straight in, quality. I think, yeah, such a well-coached side. And I think De Zerbi, what I found out, he has a £13 million release clause active from this summer. Do teams start sniffing around De Zerbi?
Could that team be the team they just beat? I mean, especially if it gets to January, Man United could be out the Champions League. They could be drifting away from the top 4 finish. And £30 million isn't a lot of money in the world of football.
No, not for a team like Man United.
It could be the one.
If I was a club that was a little bit wobbly right now, I'm talking Chelsea, I'm talking Man United, who I think between them, I think Chelsea are on 5 points from 5 games and Man United are on 4 points from 5 games, or might be the other way around. It's not good enough. And yeah, you got to be looking at teams like Brighton who are absolutely flying and think, yeah, I'll have a bit of that.
Do you reckon if De Zerbi left, it'd be Potter back in?
Brighton are good. Brighton have got a good little model. I don't know, because they had to like fast forward their model when Chelsea came in and took Potter, and they had to kind of jump the gun and get De Zerbi in. So I don't know. I wonder if they've already got
someone lined up.
Someone lined up.
4 manager backlog.
Yeah,
just
ready to go. Because I'm intrigued.
I saw this question posed to Gary Lineker on the Rest is Football podcast. Could Brighton do a Leicester?
No.
I agree.
Because Man City are too good.
The Leicester season
There
was
was too many bad teams.
Every team was poor.
Yeah.
And I don't want to undermine that achievement because it's still a fantastic
Oh,
achievement.
yeah. Gas for them. But every team stunk, really.
Yeah. Brighton already dropped points to West Ham this season.
Yeah.
So they will be beaten. That's the nature of the game when they play that side of football. Like, sometimes it won't click. And that is, they don't have, although you might think they do, they don't have the same quality on the pitch as a lot of the top 4 teams do. But it'd be interesting. A game that I'm really interested in seeing is Brighton versus Liverpool.
Yes, because Brighton have been slapping Liverpool recently, like they have Man United.
So, yeah, it could be very interesting. Should we move on to a game where 2 late goals sunk the hearts of many Sheffield United fans?
I was gassed because at one point, Man United were losing, Spurs were losing. I was like, there's no better Saturday than a Saturday where Spurs and United lose. Check my phone 10 minutes later and Spurs were 1-2-1.
Yeah. Sheffield United 1-0 up and Richarlison comes on after a tough time recently.
Yeah.
He was pictured crying on the Brazilian bench. He said, he came out and said he's seeking psychological and mental help to get back on track.
Get his head in the game.
Something happened between then and now because he came on and changed the game.
Yeah.
He scored a cheeky little header.
He did.
And then, less than, 2 minutes later, assisted Dejan Kulusevski's brilliant finish to turn the game on its head and send home some sad Sheffield United fans.
Yep.
Ange Ball, let's talk about it because
it's clicking.
It is working, but how are you not beating Sheffield United in 90 minutes?
Well, I don't know. From the momentum bar, it's all Spurs, and I think it was one of those where you're gonna have those games where you just can't get through. Like Sheffield United playing 5 at the back, time wasting a little bit. 3 really deep midfielders, kind of shithouse top 2 or front 2. It's a hard one, but yeah, like you said, at home you should be beating Sheffield United comfortably. But one thing I will say for Spurs is to get the result, no matter how it comes. I remember last year when they were struggling against Leicester, and then in the last minute won the game. It's a good habit to pick up. Like Arsenal picked that up last year, a couple of last minute winners. It's a very good habit to get 3 points no matter how you get it.
To me,
my issue with Spurs is that I don't think is it prolific enough in goal?
In front of goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beneficial nature of that is that
Madison will help for that.
They're going to have so many chances with this Ange Ball system, with a player like James Maddison creating chances. He is a expected chance created monster. Don't like to use the expected stats too much, but that's the best way to put it. But the problem I think they have is they don't have, like you say, a prolific goal scorer anymore.
No.
Since Harry Kane has sailed to Bayern.
Yeah. Son is goals. He apart from last season, it was a little bit wobbly, but he's still got 15 goals. But for me, I really like the idea back in the day of having Son as through the middle, but I think he is better off the wing. And so I don't think Richarlison's that guy up top, unless you slightly change the system. Because what Richarlison does is he kind of lingers in the 6-yard box, and he's a bit of a poacher. I think that's how he gets a lot of his goals for Brazil. They'll cut it back to him, and he's there to finish. Whereas that's not really how Spurs are playing at the moment. So I don't think Richarlison's that guy. And so for me, I don't know if they've got that kind of focal point up top that Ange needs. Maybe they'll dip into the market in January. I don't know.
Ivan Toney, perhaps?
Perhaps, yeah.
I think that would be an outrageous.
That'd be a nice little move.
I've seen he's going to be back in training with Brentford. He can't play for however longer, but he can train, which be interesting. Apparently, they're lining up to keep him and utilise him, which be interesting to see. But I can see a lot of teams sniffing around him as the answer to their problems. But Spurs, they, like you say, creating chances, creating a lot of chances. Ange Paul's looking good, conceding quite a few goals though. But is that just giving the goalkeeper and the backline time to sort of gel a little bit? You've got Udogie there, Pedro Porro, who just that disgusting turn he done.
Yeah, I think that back line, in my opinion, none of them are actually very good defenders. And that's all fun and good because the way Ange is playing, they're going to dominate most games. They're going to be super attacking. And they're going to probably win most games by outscoring the opposition. It's not going to be by like defending and getting a 2-0 win. They're probably going to get a lot of 3-1s and 4-1s, 4-2s. Because for me, Pedro Porro's there for his attacking skills. So's Udogie. And then I think Van de Ven's all right. And I think Christian Romero's heavily overrated. So between that four, I think you're relying heavily on Basuma to do a lot of legwork in that midfield, which he has been doing. He's been quality.
He's been really good.
But I think they will concede a lot of goals. But they'll score a lot of goals. And that's what you like to see.
Yeah. We spoke a little bit about the beginning, about the increased added time, the new laws that have been brought into play. We use Sheffield United as an example.
Did you see Heckingbottom's post-match kind of rant about referees?
Yeah.
He was like, referees don't understand about kind of like game state and how like the Sheffield United goalkeeper, when Spurs have like cottoned on to how they're playing out from the back, Spurs will shift their team. So Sheffield United have to reshift their like kind of goal kick, kind of playing out from the back idea. And that takes time. And so the referees will punish Sheffield United for kind of reevaluating their goal kick procedure. And Heckingbottom is kind of saying, you can't penalise us for thinking about football during the game. Apparently, one of the referees was like, so Heckingbottom went to the referee and was like, we're kind of thinking about how to play out from the back differently. And he was like, I don't care, kick it long. And I was like, how's a referee? If that's true, I was like, how as a referee can you dictate how these multi-billion-pound teams play their football just because they're taking a little bit longer than you'd like? You've got to kind of add a bit of common sense into it. Maybe, yes, they are taking a little bit longer. Spurs, just add it on. Stop booking people for thinking about how to play, especially, and I don't want to kind of like give the underdogs an advantage, but like Sheffield United are about to pick up a massive scalp here, beating Spurs away. Don't start fucking booking every one of their players because they're trying to figure out a new way to play out from the back.
The problem is there's so much inconsistency within refereeing at the minute, and they're creating new laws to try and make everything far more pinpoint and down to the letter. But football isn't a down to the letter game.
We're losing the je ne sais quoi of the game.
100%. But the problem is, when a decision is made, there's always going to be someone who benefits and someone who is negatively affected.
Yeah, that's the
and
problem.
That is the nature of football. But we need to bring some common sense in. I mean, a goal kick is a set piece, yeah? I'm not talking about when he catches it and he's got however long to kick it out of his hands. I'm talking about it goes out of play for a goal kick. It's a set piece.
Yeah.
It's a set piece. If they want to take a little bit of time to do it, that is what it is. Like, but and I'm not saying they can sit there, but the clock is stopped at that point.
Yeah, just don't let them take the piss, but apply common sense. If it's like a 20-second limit and they hit 25, fine. If they hit like 40, then book them. But if it's 25, it's fine.
Game. People complaining that Arsenal took so long for the corner that they scored from, but that corner actually took less time than the average corner last season.
Yeah, so just stop fucking overanalyzing everything.
You're looking too much towards the narrative of the game and not actually refereeing what's in front of you.
Yeah, 100%.
And for me, I'm fully there for supporting referees, protecting referees, but it's getting ridiculous. They are becoming far too much the centre point in the game. I don't want to hear about referees anymore.
I've got an outlandish idea.
Sack them off.
This could be mental. What if you have 2 referees, 1 for each half? That eliminates kind of
Making the game about them.
And pressure of like game states. Say like one referee's already booked a lot of people, or is like, oh, I know I've kind of leniently given you a yellow, but I shouldn't have, blah blah, and that's playing on his mind, and like might accidentally book someone else because he's trying to make up for that. Get another referee in for the second half, clean slate. He doesn't know, and what you got to do is that referee that comes in the second half, he's locked away. He can't even watch the first half. You just got to let know who's got.
He just gets handed the card with the
and then he's got to go straight out and do it.
The only problem is, I've got a massive problem with that.
I don't know. I've just literally thought that
because
there's probably a million problems. With
we're struggling to get like 3 good refs in the Prem, and now you want double.
Yeah,
you want double.
I mean, it's an idea. I'll throw it out there. I don't know.
I'm just saying. I feel like let's give referees some accountability here. They have to be held accountable for their decisions, right? They need to come out and explain every decision that they make regarding VAR. Okay, that any sort of like contentious decision, like if managers are made to come out and give press conferences after games and talk to the media, why is the referee not asked to?
But then is that playing into they shouldn't be the star of the show?
Perhaps, but there needs to be more explanation going on here.
Yeah, the mic'd up referee thing for VAR needs to happen.
100%. I don't. Was it during the Women's World Cup though, where the referee came on and she was like, "Number 6 booked for a foul, penalised," and I was like, "Nah, just like that's too much." I just want to know what's going on.
Yeah,
I don't want to sit there like being like, "What?" Like we there's a million cameras at the game. Yeah. We should be informed of everything now. Like we've gotten to that point where every single thing that a referee does is going to be scrutinised. But that is the nature of the game. You're refereeing the biggest sport in the biggest league on the planet, probably the universe, mate.
Shout out aliens.
But I don't know. It's long.
Yeah, and it's getting worse. I think that's what's getting on everybody's tits is that when VAR first got brought in, I swear down it wasn't this bad.
You gave it some leniency as well because it was new.
Like the refereeing plus VAR combo when it first got introduced, I swear it wasn't this bad. It is getting worse. It's probably, I don't know how long it's been since VAR came in. I'm going to say 5 years. I pulled that out of my ass,
probably around that.
5. It's got worse. I feel like every week now, there's at least 2 or 3 VAR big issues. Whereas back in the day, I swear it wasn't that bad.
Do you know what as well is that the Premier League turned down the offside technology that was used in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Go back to that World Cup and tell me one time they got it wrong.
Yeah, and that's a combo of foreign referees, which are so much better than English referees.
Yep.
And that technology is really good.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Maybe that's the new thing. We just get the best referees in.
Yeah. We've already got like the best money, the best managers, best players. Just fucking get the best refs in.
And they send the shit ones out to Saudi.
Get them off to Saudi. You get a bag. You probably make a profit selling the league.
100%.
Because who was it? Clattenburg. He went out to like China for a bit, didn't he? Or like Abu Dhabi or something to referee. I don't know.
Abu Dhabi do. Let's round up this episode by talking about a game where, what was it, like 3 goals in the last 10 minutes for Aston Villa.
Yeah, sad day for Crystal Palace. Roy Hodgson taken ill as well. Shout out Roy. Hope he's all good.
I like Roy Hodgson. Get well soon, mate. I was worried when Aaron Ramsey scored.
Oh, yeah, because he's like
he's
if
a killer.
He scores, someone dies. Yeah,
yeah, and they gave him that penalty, and I was like, you know what you're doing here. That is disgusting. But, yeah, it was a bad day for Palace.
Yeah, they started off pretty decent. I think Eze and Doucouré in midfield, they're running the show. But I don't think that Crystal Palace team has enough quality beyond Eze and Doucouré, and when Elise gets back fit.
Anderson's good. I like Anderson.
Yeah, I think their centre-backs are okay. Gay and Anderson, I think, are okay. I don't think they're ever kind of stars of the show. Whereas like Doucouré, Elise, and Eze, I think are players that are stars of the show that could go up another level.
I think Anderson's a really good defender. I think he's one of the best ball-playing defenders in the Premier League.
I don't think he could go up into a top 6 team. Whereas I think Elise...
He's definitely getting the Spurs team next to Romero.
Yeah, probably, but that's, I don't know, not saying much. Whereas Elise, Eze and Doucouré, I don't think would look out of place in a City or an Arsenal or a Liverpool.
Agreed.
So, yeah, beyond that, I think there's a lack of depth and quality at Crystal Palace. And I think that, for me, is my only issue with Crystal Palace. Maybe, like, a good goal scorer. Edouard and Mateta kind of go in and out of goals, which isn't good enough when you've got players like Eze and Elise feeding you. And then you're still playing Schlupp or Will Hughes in your midfield. Like,
Jordan Ayew.
yeah, you got a lot of kind of Joel Ward. You got a lot of dusted Dons that need to kind of move on. And I don't know if that just comes from they're not like a massive club. You probably can't turn around 100 mil every summer. So it's not that easy. Whereas let's talk about a team that can turn around 100 mil every summer. Highly ambitious owners. Aston Villa.
Yeah, Aston Villa. I mean, they had a really understated but impressive transfer window. They did their business early. They've done it quietly. They made some good additions to that already decent team. A team that had a fantastic finish to last season. But for me, Aston Villa, there is no reason why they can't, on their day, beat anyone. I think they've got a good enough manager and a good enough squad there to beat anyone. They've got a World Cup winning goalkeeper.
Yep.
They're getting Ollie Watkins firing.
Yep. They've got a range of very good defenders.
John Duran scored an absolute disgusting goal. I've seen that being called Benteke-esque.
Shout out Duran.
Prime Benteke. Yeah, Moussa Diaby as well.
Outrageous signing.
How good is he?
Yeah, I didn't think he'd be playing the role that he's playing. He's playing like the central kind of attacking, creative player. I saw him as like a right winger when he was at Leverkusen. And yeah, I don't know. Unai Emery's got him in this kind of creative role. He's got Zaniolo and John McGinn on the wide roles. I don't know if that's because he's trying to play like a very compact midfield and allow like the fullbacks to bomb on, which seems to be working. And then obviously behind them you've got Kamara and Douglas Luiz, who are two very solid defensive midfielders.
Douglas Luiz, one of my most underrated Premier League players at the minute.
Yeah, I really like
for the last few seasons.
Yeah, I really like what Villa got. You've got a decent defensive unit, a decent attacking unit. I think for me, they need to just kind of get that defensive unit not conceding as many goals as they are. But apart from that, I really like what they're doing.
They've got some really good defenders there, though. Yeah. The likes of Konsa, Torres,
Diego Carlos
as well.
Yeah.
And even Tyrone Mings, when he's back, wasn't the biggest fan of Mings, but he does a job. But yeah, they're just a really solid team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go have like another under the radar season where they end up sort of around that top 8 in the Premier League.
I can see them picking up like if they get a nice little. I can see them 5 wins on the trot.
Yeah, and there's no.
And
reason.
If you do that, you're automatically you just end up in like the top 6, 8 because teams are dropping points left, right, and centre at the moment. So yeah, I think if you can pluck together a nice little run, I think Aston Villa could be a problem for those teams buying for European success. European
just
places.
Before we finish up, I want to talk to you about Luton Town. 0 points at the minute. They were hard done by, in my opinion, against West Ham. I think they could have had a penalty.
Yep.
In the late on. Are we going to see them break Derby's record for points in the season?
No. I saw someone tweet this. So he put a bet on. It was like Luton to beat Derby's worst scorer. I think he put like 50 quid, and it returns stupid amount of money for, I don't know, a pretty like black and white bet. Either happens or it doesn't happen, and it returns fucking return like $3,000. I was like, I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll pick up some results. I haven't been like massively disappointed in any of the games that I've seen them play. Like you said, I thought they were all right against West Ham. They were pretty decent against Fulham. Unlucky to lose 1-0. I think once you get them against maybe a Burnley or a Sheffield United at home, I think they'll pick up a few. I don't reckon they'll do a derby.
No, the problem is I struggle to see where the points come from though, and without them being outlandish results. And for me, any team that isn't Sheffield United or Burnley. And even then, I think both those teams are better. Maybe not Sheffield United. Sheffield United are probably on par, just maybe a little bit past. But I think Burnley are far better than Luton. And I think even sort of like the strugglers in the league, Everton, I think they're probably maybe better than Luton, like too good for Luton. I struggle to see where these points are going to come from. Even like Wolves, who were tipped for relegation by a lot of people, they had a really good performance against Liverpool, and it just happens that Liverpool are just so devastating once they get onto you.
Yeah.
That is what happens. But they look good under Gary O'Neill. I struggle to see where these points are going to come from.
Yeah, you are right.
Are you telling? And if they want to get, I think Derby's point struggle is 11 points.
11, yeah.
So if they need to get 4 wins, or like two wins and 5 draws, I don't know where that's coming from. I really don't. And like the problem is, it could switch around in a matter of games. I mean, they're playing Burnley in, I think, is it next week?
Oh, I don't know.
They've got a double header.
Oh yeah.
Because their game got postponed when Kenilworth Road wasn't ready. But for me, that's a week where you've got to really, really get going now. Because if you don't get going, you'll be up near Christmas time soon, mate. And Santa's not bringing you any points for free.
He's spitting. I think Rob Edwards is a good manager. I reckon he'll pick up some points. I don't even like Luton. In fact, I dislike Luton, but I think they'll pick up some points.
Do you want to quickly just discuss one very boring game in Bournemouth versus Chelsea?
Yeah, Chelsea stink, mate.
I think can't get it going, can they?
I think it can be epitomised by their bench. When you got a bench where you spent $1 billion and you got 2 goalkeepers on your bench and
5 unknowns. 5
unknowns. It's so bad. I know they've got a lot of injuries, but even still, you spent $1 billion. Your squad depth's got to be better than that. Man City. When they're in their pomp and you look at their bench and they've got the likes of fucking Mahrez and Bernardo Silva and even Calvin Phillips on their bench, who probably walks into that Chelsea team.
How's Conor Gallagher your captain? I don't understand it. Like for me, the only 2 players that really impressed me for Chelsea yesterday were Malagusto and Sterling. I think they're the only 2 players that look dangerous in that team for me. Nicholas Jackson can't score a goal to save his life.
Oh, mate, do you see that one where he was like on the left-hand side of the box and he took a shot? And it's just so bad.
There's one where the ball comes in, I think it's from Chilwell, and he doesn't expect it to land on his head, and it just like bounces onto his head and goes like at the keeper or something. Like
it's a bit of
you're meant to be like
bozo,
this prolific striker, and you can't even you're not ready for the ball to come at you in the box. Like, I don't get it.
I think they could be in trouble, and on Bournemouth though, I think stick with Areola, mate. I know they haven't got a win so far this season. They've had a very hard start to the season.
They had one of the hardest starts, them and Newcastle.
And I don't think any game they've looked particularly bad. I think once they get Tyler Adams into the team, Sinistera, once he starts getting into the team, I think, trust in Areola. There's a nice little unit there.
100% agree. Let us know down below what you have thought of everything that we've covered. We covered quite a lot. Some brief. But Man United. Is it going to get better anytime soon? Let us know. And what about all the changes to the extra time rules? Is it fair on the lower teams in the league, or is it just great? Should we just be happy as spectators? Guys, if you're not already involved in our Gabriel Martinelli shirt giveaway, make sure you get involved. It's very easy. You got to follow us and AFTV on Twitter and then subscribe to us on YouTube. So simple, you can't go wrong, and you've got a good chance of winning.
The giveaway doesn't stop. Martinelli hasn't scored yet. He's injured at the moment, so the giveaway is going to go on indefinitely till he bags.
But guys, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We really do appreciate it. Thanks to all our new subscribers. The content's going to be coming thick and fast. Champions League is back by the time you've watched this, and the football's just not going to stop. So guys, thank you very much for watching. It's been BoreDraw, and it's live.